It's a great honor for me to welcome you all for the international webinar on health promotion, Hitaayu 2020, on behalf of Department of PG Studies in Panchakarma and Swasthavritta, JSS AMC, Mysuru. As the saying goes, the roots of education are bitter, but the fruits are really sweet. And to begin with today's first scientific session of day 4, we have with us Dr. Anupama Krishnan, Associate Professor in the Department of Swasthavritta, Vaidyaratnam PS Ayurveda College, Kottakkal, Kerala. I welcome you, ma'am, on behalf of Department of Panchakarma and Swasthavritta, JSS AMC, Mysuru. Madam did her BMS and MD in Swasthavritta at Government Ayurveda College, Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala. And she is a PhD scholar from Kerala University of Health Sciences. And fellowship in Traditional Medicine and Integrative Health, DHR CCIH. Madam has been training undergraduate and postgraduate students of various capacities for more than 14 years. And also conducting Ayurvedic workshops for foreign students for more than 14 years. And Madam has been recognized as former consulting physician in Bhishma, aided by French government based in India and France. And also recognized as resource person of training program for Department of Indian Medicine in the University of Germany. Madam has been recognized as a resource person in several prestigious platforms and in the ROTPs and many training programs. And also presented papers in many national and international seminars. She has also been recognized as author and co-author of books which are related to Swasthavritta. And author of chapter in Research Methodology, Hands-on Training. And ma'am has been published several articles on different topics too. Now, the topic of this scientific session is role of dietetics in Panchakarma. We are honored by your presence on this occasion, madam. Madam, all are invited to listen to you. So please proceed with the session.
Thank you very much, Pooja. Can you share the screen now? Hello? Am I audible? Yeah. Am I audible? Is the screen visible? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Hello? So
You are
thank you,
audible,
Dr. Pooja. Your voice
is
yes.
visible.
Okay, thank you. So thank you, organizers, and thank you for the beautiful
you can put it to the presentation
welcome
mode.
speech.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Correct, ma'am. You can start, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No, it got disconnected, ma'am. Ma'am, your voice is not audible.
Not now?
Now it's audible, ma'am.
Oh, hello. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Yeah. I'm switching off the audio video for now. Huh? Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Please, ma'am.
Yeah. So thank you for the invitation. So we proceed to the topic. I think we can start.
Ma'am, your audio is muted, ma'am. Kindly unmute.
Yeah. Is it okay now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, something is going wrong. Okay. So what we see is our topic today is on diet and panchakarma. They're closely related. We'll try to navigate together into this ocean. So across the length and breadth of Ayurveda, we see that there has been a concrete strategy, a deliberate attempt to project panchakarma as a supportive, preparatory, curative, and restorative phenomenon for a very particular reason. That is, panchakarma accomplishes is a therapy action. That is, it increases repeated dosha, decreases hello. Hello. Hello.
Audible, ma'am.
Hello. I think the connection is going. Is the connection? Am I audible? It's going again and again.
Yes, ma'am. You are audible, but the
Hello?
screen is visible, ma'am. You can switch off the video as you said.
Yeah, something is going on. Once again, I will change my position. Give me 1 minute. Yeah.
Okay.
രാജു പറ്റുന്നില്ലടാ. മണി 10 10:30 ക്ലാസ് ഷെയർ ചെയ്തോ ഇത്തിരി. ഇത് yeah. Can you see the slide now?
Yes, ma'am. You better switch
Hello?
off the video, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It is visible now.
Yeah.
You better, as you
Okay.
said, switch off the
I'll
video. It
start
is
off.
showing your bandwidth is low.
Even now? Okay, fine. So I start again.
You switch
Sorry
off
for
the
all
video.
this. I think I've switched it off.
One
Your
second.
video is on, ma'am.
Even now. അച്ഛാ ഒന്ന് വാടാ നീ വാ. Switch off ചെയ്തോ? ഇത് ശരിയാവും.
And that's okay, ma'am. I will stop the video. I can stop your video.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I have stopped the
stopped.
video.
Okay, fine. ഇല്ലല്ല വീഡിയോ.
The presentation is visible, ma'am.
Can you see the slide? Okay, I start. We have already lost time. Okay.
That's okay,
Yeah.
ma'am. Please.
So across so what we see is that we have a very viable strategy of promoting panchakarma or realizing panchakarma in a supportive, preparatory and curative as well as restorative domain for a very particular reason is that in case of depleting the increased dosha or increasing the decreased dosha or maintaining normalcy, Panchakarma has come out as a very effective strategy. It is an undeniable prerequisite for Rasayana administration by virtue of Agnidipana and Srodoshodhana. Now, since it aims at to destroy the disease from the root cause, it is considered as a radical measure. Now, it bestows disease pacification coupled with Bala and Varna restoration. Now, that is a landmark quality of a phenomenon. Now, Panchakarma interestingly augments Swastavrita in prevention, maintenance, and conservation of health. It is a treatment par excellence for both Vegadharana and Mandagni, both of which have a lion's share in disease causation. Now, consider a condition when a person is having a distorted or disturbed homeostasis. So, viably, we have an impaired metabolism, that is impaired anabolism, catabolism, plus deformed nutrition, deficient immunity, and we will be having a hampered waste excretion. So what happens then? Then we will find that there will be an accumulation of the metabolic waste, which will be leading to free radical formation and tissue damage. So end point would be we are with a metabolic disorder. And what to do with a metabolic disorder? We need to have a cleansing of the metabolic pathways, and that is done by Panchakarma. Panchakarma is also very effective in the immediate and chronic system policy. It has a quality of reverting the biological system back to normalcy, and then it lays down a very foundation or a background for the rejuvenation process. Now, coming to the diet scenario, we all know that the nutritional status of an individual is a genuine indicator of a resilience against destabilization. So no wonder that the Ayurvedic health concepts are always intending towards health promotion and disease prevention. By balancing a diet to maintain a homeostasis of the body, this is the base of Ayurvedic prophylactic, preventive, and clinical nutrition. We are very well aware of the topic that if a wholesome diet is given in a plant way, there is actually less chance for a medicinal treatment. But consider a condition when you allow an unwholesome diet to be permitted, even when the treatment is carried on. Well, then we can be almost be assured that the treatment's impact is going to be questionable. So when we are talking about wholesomeness, now what's wholesomeness? Wholesomeness encompasses the concept of Pathyam, that is conduciveness. Conduciveness in a sense, it is congenial to the body tissues, it is relished by the person, it maintains the health and homeostasis of the body, it is beneficial for the body, mind and intellect simultaneously, it enhances strength and prevents disease. Now this is a Pandora of effect that we are trying to aim through our dietetic protocol. In Panchakarma 2, diet guidelines are sketched the same framework. Before doing the actual Panchakarma, we have a session of Purakarma where we have a Deepana, which will actually ignite the Agni, Pajana of Ama, Snehana, both internal and external oilation, and Svedana for sudation, followed by the Pradhana Karma of Vamana, Virecahana, Basti, Nasya, and Raktamokshana. After the Panchakarma is accomplished, as we see, the Agni and the strength of the body will be depleted. So we will have a regimen and a behavior restriction which will try to bring back the Agni and will try to replenish the body's weakness, will try to make the body stronger as before. Now, we can also see that this dietetic protocol for Panchakarma is in alliance with the Ritucharya. And the Ritucharyas themselves have a share of their Panchakarma. Okay, now this is a beautiful example where we find that the Ayurvedic fundamental principles are linked from the gross level to the subtle level. There is a link between the theory and the practical. This link is found throughout, from Swastavritta to Kaya Chikitsa, anywhere and everywhere. We will see that the basic principles are linked. Okay. Now let us see in a nutshell how our Panchakarma processes work out. Now, we all know that carbohydrate metabolism is the preferred or the convenient mainstay of energy requirement. The body loves to manage the carbohydrate metabolism. But if a body is diseased, there is a deliberate need to clean the metabolic pathway. Okay, so during Snehavana, the body has to face a forced moderate glucose deprivation, which the body is not very fond of, but it works to repair the pathways, and the system is loaded with fat. Okay, that is also very unnatural to the body, and there is a deliberate attempt to mend the physiology in a controlled manner. Okay, now because we want to remove the waste from the body, sneha is used, because the waste are dissolved into the sneha, that is it is melted, it is increased by the temperature, and it is brought out to the koshta, and then the waste products are then migrated to the earliest exit point. This is how the sneha sveda is going to work, by taking away the melted dosha. Now, fat and water soluble, that is Utklishta and Vilayida dosha, are directed to the koshta by the heat of the Svedana externally. Now, once this waste are removed, that is a Panchakarma, clears the metabolic pathways by the eliminative procedures, we have the Samsarjana Kriya, which will provide the glucose-rich diet, and then will reinstall the carbohydrate metabolism. So we see that the carbohydrate metabolism, which was kept aside for a particular therapeutic cause, is now reinstalled by the samsarana. This is the dietic procedure. Now, ahara has a main role or a criteria of consideration before Panchakarma administration, the others being dosha, deshaja, desha, kala, bala, sharira, saknya, sattva, prakriti, and vayaha. In the context of ahara, Agni assessment is also very important. Now, Agni is assessed in terms of Jarana Shakti and Abhyavarna Shakti. Jarana Shakti, or the digestive capacity, is actually accounted by the Jirna Ahara Lakshana, that is the features of proper digestion, such as enthusiasm, lightness of the body, clear belching, appearance of genuine hunger and thirst, proper evacuation of excreta, etc. Now, it is scored at a regular meal time by taking into account a person who is taking a required normal quantity of food. This has been taken by a study of Varsha et al. Jamnagar, and Abhyavarna Shakti is the capacity to take food. Now, this is very related to the quantity and quality of the food, so it varies from person to person. Now, both Jarana Shakti and Abhyavarna Shakti have to be taken into account while we assess Agni for planning the Samsarjana. Now, in the Purva Karma, the concept of Deepana and Pajana are of great importance. Now, what does Deepana do? Deepana will kindle the digestion, but that means it ignites the digestion, but there is no Ama Pajana involved. Owing to the Agni and Vayu Mahabhuta, there is an increase in appetite, that is, Abhyavarna Shakti is increased, it works more on empty stomach. There is a separation of the dosha from the dhatu. What about the Pajana property? Pajana property tries to digest the ama, but it does not increase Agni. It converts Sa ama avastha into Nirama avastha. So they actually work together, Deepana and Pajana, in the Purva Karma state. So the food items and drugs which are having Deepana and Pajana property have to be imbibed in this particular phase. In this whole spectrum, we have to visualize the stimulation of vagus, glossopharyngeal nerve, the fundus, the pylorus, duodenum. We have to visualize that there is an increase in the digestive enzymes, secretion of bile, and pancreatic juice during this particular procedure. Now, coming down to this entire session, what we are going to do, we are going to understand, we are going to find out the food intake behavior, hunger, thirst that has been talked about in the session of Panchakarma. Now, Ayurveda gives maximum attributes to the importance of sneha, both as food and medicine. It is considered essential for body existence. The body is sneha saravayam purusha. Body is rich in fat. Why? Because the snigdha guna is projected by the dhatu, rasa, rekta, mamsa, meda, majja, shukra, the ubadhatu, vasa, stanya, ojas, and the mala, purisha, mutra, and sweda. No biochemical reaction or cell function in the body is possible in the absence of fat. Fat imparts stability and strength to the body. In fact, the two dhatu, namely medas and majja, are basically fat based. There are many fat soluble vitamins, and the biochemical reactions are mediated by fat. Nevertheless, the function of the nervous system is based on the lipid medium. Now, sneha with food makes the agni stable. This is a concept. And based on the origin, sneha is divided into stavara and jangama. And the jangama again incorporates natural and artificial sources. Among the four sneha, namely krida, taila, vasa, and majja, krida is considered as the best due to the property of refinement, and it is the easiest in digestion. Based on dosha mitigation, krida will mitigate vata and pitta, majja and vasa will mitigate vata, and tailam will mitigate vata and kapha. Now we are going to see how it is connected, our food hunger and diet pattern. The dose of snehapana is fixed qualitatively depending upon the food habits and the digestive ability. Okay, we have a condition of increased chronic vitiation of dosha which demands a total purification. Okay, we will have to give a uttama matra snehapana meant for shodhana when without food, as soon as the food is taken on the previous day is digested and when the person is not changes, we have a condition when we intend to do shamana sneha. Then we have to administer the sneha in a madhyama matra during the mealtime on empty stomach and when the person is hungry. Brahmana snehapana, here the sneha is consumed along with food in a small quantity, that is in sub-minimum dose. The purpose here is weight gain treatment, nutrition enhancement, and general health promotion. It is given in the medium of meat, soup, etc. It is ideal for children and aged population, those who are suffering from thirst, who have a viable aversion to fat, who have a daily indulgence in sexual activity and fatty food, who have a poor digestive ability, who are accustomed to a cozy, comfortable life, who are afraid of hardships, who are mridukoshta, who are emaciated, and it is a case of alpadosha and it is a hot season. Now, Sushmita says that a sneha which is digested in one yama, that is 3 hours, is indicated for alpadosha and the impact obtained is divana. The time component, that is when the sneha is given in the Shuddha Kala, that is a person is hungry, what will happen? The Agni will digest the sneha, so it becomes Shamana. In the Ashuddha Kala, that is, it is given in empty stomach when the person is not feeling hungry, the Agni is not going to digest the entire sneha, it will become Dosha Utklesha. Outer Bhaktika Sneha, that is, a sneha is given after meal for Utha Jatru Vigare Rogas. Avapidaka Sneha is given in the middle of the meal. Now, Vriddha Vagbada gives a very interesting phenomenon that small quantity of sneha can be given before food and large quantity given after digestion. This is indicated in Vadavyadhi, Mutra Vega Dharanejanya Roga, and Arshas. Here, Krita is actually preferred over Thaila. Now, the condition gives small amount of sneha before food. What does it do? It is helpful in management of diseases affecting the lower part of the body, and it strengthens the lower part of the body during the food intake. That is, when the sneha is given with the food intake, it helps in curing diseases of the middle part of the body, and when it is given after food, it helps in management of upper part of the body, and it will augment and fortify the organs of the particular part of the body. Now, based on Prayoga Bheda, we can classify Sneha into Acha and Vicharana. I will be dealing with Vicharana here. That is, food is our concern here. Vicharana Snehapana is the administration of Sneha intake along with food and also with other modes we will be talking about food here after considering samya and dosha. When vicharana seha, that is sneha, is taken with food, we have to consider the forms, food forms such as odana, vilepi, yavagu, bhakshyam, bhojyam, peyam, and lekyam are the forms of the food, and the different preparations of food need to be considered here. And 64 rasa combinations have to be accounted. So these things have to be in our mind when we think that when we are giving food with sneha, this many permutations and combinations are possible. It is indicated for Sukumara, it is meant for Prisha, Vritha, Shishu, Snehadveshi, Madhyanitya, Snehanitya, Mridu, Koshta, Trishnartha, and Ushnakala. The same that we have discussed. Now, what is the outcome expected? It is Dhatu Brahmana by Brahmana Sneha and Dosha Utklesha via Sadhyo Sneha. Now, Pipali, Saindava, Ghee, Tilapishta, Varahavasa, cow's milk poured into a vessel containing ghee and sugar. This is especially indicated for Ruksha persons. Pipali, Saindava, the four Sneha, and Dadimastu. Snigdha Yavagu and fried mamsa. Yavagu of rice cooked in milk added with ghee. Mamsa rasa by boiling large amount of meat. Payasa prepared with masha and fatty substances. Fresh milk with ghee and sugar. In a common practice, especially in our part, what we see is we prepare more of mamsa rasa with meat, and payasa is also practiced, and dukkha with ghee and sugar. Sadhyo Sneha is actually a component of Vijarana Seha when we want to achieve Snehana in a very short duration, and that too instantaneously. Here's soup prepared from a large quantity of meat, gruel fried with more quantity of fat, powdered sesame seeds with molasses and fat, krisara, which is used, rice cooked with green gram mixed with fat, Ksheerapeya, that is gruel prepared with milk and mixed with more quantity of ghee, and which is served warm. These have to be warm. Yogurt water, cream of curd mixed with Gouda, which we have not seen actually. Panchaprasada Peya is practiced. Thin gruel prepared from each of the four sneha and the rice. This is also indicated for the children and the aged population who are unable to bear the discomfort or the avoidance of the snehana therapy. It brings about immediate oilation and lubrication, and it is devoid of side effects. Mamsarasa of Varaha, Kukkuda, Go, Aja, and Matsya can be used. The drug required to be mixed up are Yava, Kola, Kulatha, Dadima, Dathi, Shundi, Pipali, Maricha. We have a wide spectrum of substances we can actually add on with. Krisara with sufficient sneha. Now, there is a very obvious reason why sneha is added along with salt, because it brings about an immediate lubrication. It is abhishandi, it causes exudation in the tissues. However, it is aruksha, does not cause much of dryness. It is sushma, capable of entering into minute pores. Ushna, hot in potency. Vyavai, it spreads all over the body first and later undergoes transformation. However, Sushruta warns about the excessive use of Lavanarasa. Now, people who are subjected to or are suffering from skin diseases, inflammatory conditions such as Shobha and diabetes, that is Prameha, we cannot use jaggery and meat of birds of marshy land, milk, sesame seeds, and black gram, suradadi, etc. for oilation, for Sadhya Snehana. The reason being, the property of Utklesha and Kapha Vriddhi will prove to be disastrous in this situation. They will worsen the disease condition. Here we have an option of doing the boiling the sneha with triphala, pipali, and pathya. This will not bring about the abnormalities. They will pacify kapha, and most importantly, they are not secretory in nature. Now, diet which is meant for sneha consumption, the person who is going to be subjected to snehavana the next day, who is undergoing right now and who has just completed, they will have to go through a diet which is dravam and ushnam, not producing excess moisture, not neither abhishanti. Now, Ushna Ahara here means both as Ushna Virya and Agni Samyoga. This will help in digestion, increases Agni, Vata Anulomana, and mitigate Kapha. It has to be anabhishandi, but not very snigdha and not too ruksha. It should be non-heterogeneous. That is asankara. It should not be a mixture of too many things. It should complicate the digestion. It should be consumed by the patient in a very limited quantity. Now, this regimen is the same for all purification therapies and those debilitated by diseases. The sneha upachara, Vamana, that is drinking only of the sneha, warm water is to be drunk in very small quantities, sipping off, not a bulk of it, which will help in digestion, clearing the mouth coating. With an exception of Tuvaraga Taila and Alushkara Taila, which is hot in nature, so cold water has to be taken in. For Taila, it is Yusha, and Vasa and Majja, the Anupana is Manda. Now, doubtful digestion of sneha. The event when we are doubtful of the digestion, the remedy is to sip in warm water in small quantities regularly. Purification, clear belching, the feeling of lightness in the body, and desire for food. Now, these are the features by which we know that the ghee ingested has been digested. Okay. Now, the sneha vyabat, does food have a role in that? Yes, it does. Indulging in improper food is one of the causes of sneha vyabat. Adhikna will develop warm food regimen after snehana and it will lead to vishtamba. This is considered as a ashu chikitsa vyabat, which needs immediate management. Vamana is done actually. Atisnikta lakshana comprises of bhakta dvesha and aruji. Asigna lakshana has agni mantya and avipaga as a manifestation. Now, in case of sneha vyabat chikitsa, does food and patterns have an influence? They do. Hunger, thirst is one modification that we can do. Food and drinks, which cause rukshada, that is takrarishta, yava, shamaga, pipali, triphala, shaudra. After triphala, again pathya has been reinforced. The anticipated phenomenon is hyper or hypoglycemia and acidosis. Takra is a food material of choice. We can actually attribute it to the lactic fermentation in the gut. A lot of studies are being going on regarding the gut health and Panchakarma is a big area where we can actually expand. Okay, now persons who are obese, having a kapha imbalance and an erratic type of digestive activity, they're accustomed to that, but they need a snehana therapy. So what to do first? We have to first do rukshana by means of food and drugs which are ruksha. Again, here we can use yava, administered, then snehana, then followed by purification therapy. So once we have done rukshana, we can be sure that rukshana by terms of food and drugs as well, we can be sure that the complication of snehana does not arise. Now, is there a relationship between food and this Vedana process? Yeah. People who are prescribed as unsuitable for this Vedana karma, such as people who are having the ama condition, who are chronic alcoholics, who have just consumed milk and curd and fat, who are having thirst and who are hungry, they are not suitable. Now, suppose Vedana is in a proper way, by virtue of the Ushna and Tishna properties, it will aid in digestion of ama. There is a stimulation of the 13 Agni. As a result, Bhakta Shraddha, that is increase in appetite by Sova Shraddha and Nama Pachana is the desired effect. Now, Kaya Seka. In the event of pouring the drava too rapidly from an improper height and prolonged duration, the anticipated outcome is burning sensation, fatigue, vomiting, hoarseness of the voice. So, the remedial measure on the first day is Nasya Gandusha, concentrated decoction of dried ginger. The same evening, the light meal of boiled rice with curry of moderate quantity pepper. I have only included the parts of where food and food patterns, hunger, appetite, etc. have peaked. Now, Vamana, the diet, the day previous to the Vamana is a very important day. Aggravating kapha is our duty. So, how do we do that? We have to provide fish, masha, tila, dahi vada, jalebi, payasa. These are the available. Masha, khichdi with masha and shali, and put generously add ghee, tila laddu. It's one of the delightful days of patience. Chicken soup with ghee, srikhanda, milk peda, meat of grami and anupa, and milk products. We have always seen when in our In our UG times, patients are jubilated on the day before Vamana, and on the day of Vamana, they come to know that this was something different. Okay. On the day of Vamana, make the patient make sure that the patient's previous day food has been digested and he has slept well. It should be maintained on empty stomach, or a little quantity of gruel with tea is given. For aged and child population, like debilitated people who are not in a position, who are weak by nature, they can drink milk or sugar cane juice to the maximum capacity. The emetic drug will be mixed with honey and salt. What is the purpose of this Utklesha diet? Our idea is to excite the Kapha dosha. We have to minimize the anticipated discomfort and make the vomiting as effortless as possible. Vomiting is a very uncomfortable phenomenon because it is a reverse peristaltic movement. Now, this is a very interesting situation. Sushruta says, Dalhana in his commentary on Sushruta says that samashana, that is mixing of pathyam and apathyam, is therapeutically indicated in this particular condition. Samashanam is otherwise deliberately discouraged. It is encouraged because it has got a therapeutic indication of Kapha should neither become dry solid. The idea is that the liquidity of the humor of the dosha, which has been obtained by snehana and svedana, has to be maintained, and we should be able to mobilize the dosha from shakha to the kosha effortlessly. The secretory diet compensates the degree of utklesha, which might have decreased during a gap time. If we increase the gap or resting day gap, the utklesha will automatically reduce. We will see the stage of dosha. The Leena dosha. It is situated deep in the dhatu, adherent to the sodas. Baddha dosha. Baddham apravartamanam dosha. Sama dosha. Ama idi apakwa dosha. Now, we are talking in this particular condition about anavattha dosham. Anavattha dosham, mukta srodo bandhanatvar, prachalita dosham, kosha detached from the dhatu, but is not moving towards the kosha. So, by virtue of this utklesha diet, it will become utklishta dosha, that is dosha already ready to come out through the orifice. Now, pariharya vishaya. Diet and regimen, the behavioral regimen to be observed before, during, and after Panchakarma. The Parihara Kala, that is the restrictions to be followed for a period equivalent to the days of therapy. In Basti, there is a difference because this period will be twice the period required for the therapy. The diet restrictions will include avoidance of Viruddha Bhojana, early eating during Ajirna, meal at wrong period, Apatya, Pramida, Vishama Bhojana, excessive or less diet, and heavy diet. Water intake is very important. Boiled water, never cold water, and also water we should not drink water which is boiled and cooled and kept overnight. That causes tridosha koma. So here water boiled with cumin, dhanyaka, and dry ginger for purification of vada, pitta, kapha respectively. Avoid loud speech, sitting in one position, or continuous walking. The exposure to excessive cold, dew, wind, and heat has to be discouraged. Embarking upon long journeys, keeping awake at night, sleeping during the day, suppression and provocation of vegas, all these are not desirable. In short, avoid Ashta Mahadoshagara Bhava. Now, Samsarjana Krama is a very important part, which is a sequential graduated diet in Paschat Karma of Vamana, Virecahana, Raktamokshana, Shamana, Snehana. The resultant Mandagini. After the procedures, there will be a resultant or consequent Mandagini, which has a tendency to hamper the metabolism. So, Samsarjana aims to stimulate the Agni by lighter diet in the beginning and then gradually embarks to bring the Agni to normalcy. Samsarjana is a transitional diet pattern which tries to enhance the body's strength in a graded fashion. We can see this whenever we have this transition phases, we can see in our fundamental concept. For example, in Ritu Sandhi, we have got such a transition that we do not directly transit to a change. It is always done in a graded fashion. Samsarjana is Sama plus Sarjana, that is Samyak Sarjana, defined as eliminating the dosha shesha after shodhana or creating or increasing the agni in a very graduated, proper way. Now, as a result of vigorous shodhana, there is a chance of weakness, loss of weight, depleted agni, and emptiness of yashaya. Conjugated expulsion of kapha, pitta, vada, and mala will render a person intolerable to other treatment forms and diet. So, samsardana has to be planned. Now, samsardana is also ideal for people who are on dietetic restrictions, who are undernourished, grief-stricken, under mental stress, etc. So it is actually a very sober diet pattern. So the Pravara Shuddhi, Madhyama Shuddhi, and Avara Shuddhi. Pravara Shuddhi person can be given 7 days, 12 Annakala, Madhyama Shuddhi 5 days, 8 Annakala, Avara Shuddhi 3 days, and 4 Annakala. Pravara Shuddhi, the normal food is started at the end of the 7th day, Madhyama Shuddhi 5th day, and Avara Shuddhi at the end of the 3rd day. The type of samsarjana is Peyadi and Tarpanadi. Components are Peya, Vilebi, Yusha, and Mamsarasa. There are many difference in opinion regarding the authors and practices, but this is a ground rule. So this is the one that we are practicing in Kottakkal also. I will try to give at the end of the session a practical protocol. This is from the thesis done by Dr. Renu under the guidance of Dr. Subin of Panchakarma. Yeah. So we see that the Pravara, Madhyama, and Avara Shuddhi persons will have a graded exposure to all the forms of the food. So coming to Peya, first component of Samsarjana Karma, more liquid portion and less solid portion. It is with 14 types of water and made thin in consistency. Lakhu, Deepana, Vata Anulomana, and Dhatu Pushtikara. The Deepana property increases Agni, and the raw material is Raktashali, both in Peya and Vilepi. Here, it is owing to the predominant Agni and Vayu Mahabhuta that there is an increase of Agni. Vilebi is a second component. It is cooked by adding rice with 4 times of water, and there is a thicker consistency. Actually, the materials are the same. It is the amount of water and how the consistency that matters. Properties are Madhura, Lekhu, Deepana, Rojana, Grahi, Balavarthana, and Tarpana. Due to the Balavarthana and Tarpana property, it gives strength to the person. Energy depleted, the energy depletion is actually taken care in this particular phase. The Swadhu Rasa will help in Brahmana. Yusha is the third component. It is prepared by Chimbi Dhanya, preparing one part of grain 18 times of water, enhances taste perception. It is an appetizer, nourishes all tissues, improves strength, and helps in proper digestion and metabolism. It is again classified into Krita and Akarta based on the supplements such as salt and sneha. If there is salt and sneha, it becomes Krita. Without it, it becomes Akarta. After Shodhana, first we will give the Akrita Yusha without salt and sneha. Then once Agni gets stimulated, starts becoming stimulated, we can give Krita Yusha. And Mudga Yusha, owing to the protein content, and since it is best among the Shimbidanya, is the choice. Mamsa Rasa, there's a liquid obtained by boiling meat in water. And that is a little bit of a problem is if there are non-vegetarian and vegetarian group. The non-vegetarian has got an upper hand in this particular condition. Now here again, we can have with spice and without spice. Here it is prepared by boiling the mamsa in 16 times of water and reducing to 1/4. Due to the Drava Samanya, the mamsa dhatu gets enhanced due to the intake of mamsa, and the commonly used is goat mamsa. Diet predominant of carbohydrate, protein, and fat. This is the way of replenishing. Beginning state, the digestion is very weak and the strength of the patient is also retarded. So a diet prominent in carbohydrate is reduced because it is simple in digestion, and carbohydrate metabolism yields glucose, which is the most efficient source of energy and absorb quickly. Now, protein, which is rather a large complex molecule and undergo a series of process for digestion and absorption, is introduced only after the carbohydrate. And after the Agni is completely ignited, fat is introduced, which is the ultimate source of energy. So this is the pattern: carbohydrate, protein, and fat. When we had conversed with doctors practicing outside, I mean towards the north, we find that there is the use of fruit juice, then milk and dal. So the idea is fruit juice would provide carbohydrate, dal would provide the protein part, and milk is considered as the fat part there. Tarpanadikrama, here it is less used. Patients with increased kapha and pitta have to be given. Kapha, pitta are eliminated in smaller quantity during the samshodhana. In such conditions, we have to use. We have had a study in alcoholic patients with tarpanadikrama. The patients having vata, pitta, prakriti. These are the indications for tarpanadikrama. Peyadikrama is mostly used in our place. Now coming to the next platform of Virecahana, the diet previous to the day of Virecahana. Here the light food is given in the afternoon, forenoon, followed by sour fruit juices and warm water. If a person with mrudukoshta, then even milk can induce purgation. Now, for mrudukoshta people, food items such as guda, ikshu, sarpi, and taruna madhya can also act as Virecana dravya. Now, suppose a person is weak and has a great amount of increased dosha and develops purgation on its own. So he does not need a purgative drug. He has to be treated with food items which are laxative. If the bouts of purgations are not commencing, then he has to drink hot water and the abdomen has to be fermented. So these are the places where food and drinks come into play. On the day of consuming purgation, suppose the patient has a weak digestion strength, has a coating feeling, and the digestion symptoms are not of the previous food is not to be seen, then he should fast. Because by fasting, the discomfort caused by obstruction of dosha, aggravated by sudation and snehana, will not appear. What if we give the Virecana? We give the Virecana drug on empty stomach. What if the Virecana drug is given after having the meal? It will cause utklesha and the patient will do Vamana, not Virecana. Now, Peya should not be given when only little quantity of pitta and kapha is expelled out and a person is addicted to wine and vada pitta is predominant. We said that the remedial regimen is tarpana. It is a nourishing therapy where instead of rice, parched paddy is boiled and given. So this is actually a very good source of glucose and it is lighter than Peya. Now coming to Anuvasana. Here, Lakhu Bhojana with na ati sneha, na ati ruksha, and ushna guna is required. Now, Anuvasana has to be given after meal. When the patient is having adra pani, that is wet hands just after the meal. That is appropriate time of doing Anuvasana. If it is done on empty stomach, what will happen? The sneha will move upward due to the non-obstructed pathway. Sneha by Sara and Sushma Guna will quickly move upward. Because Sneha does not stay in the Pakvashaya, so it does not have a Vadanasha Kriya, but the Agninasha occurs because a large quantity of Sneha is covering upon the Agni. Now, if a person has a good digestive capacity, if the Sneha given comes out after stipulated time, give light food in the evening. If it does not come out due to severe dryness inside and does not produce any trouble such as weakness and malaise, forget it. Allow to remain inside for night. The next morning, give a drink warm water processed with ginger or coriander, or even warm water should be given. Matravasti, the diet before Matravasti, that is Yusha, milk, Mamsarasa, suitable to the patient in a quantity that is less quantity, is 1/4 of the routine diet. If there is Atisnigdada in the food given prior to Matravasti, it will cause Mata and Morcha. If the food is very Ruksha, it will cause decreased Bala and Varna. Avoid ajirna and day sleep once the patient is subjected to Matravasti. Matravasti can be done every day, so people may not take it very seriously. Now, Asthavana, after the appearance of desired symptoms, patient should take bath with warm water, eat rice meal along with juice of animals of desert like land. Now, in our practice, we usually ask people to take food with curry and fish, or fish is more preferred more than meat. Complication of decoction anemia caused by the dislodged mala will subside with warm water and bath. You have to give the patient immediately after the Kashaya Vasti. The normal protocol of our guidelines, that is to sit calmly, to have the food, you know, these things can be taken aside for some time because the patient will have vega in between. He can leave it, go have. After the Kashaya Vasti, the patient will take a warm water bath, consume the food immediately. In between, he will have a vega, he is allowed to go. So it is a fast process which has to be done. The food has to reach the stomach immediately after the Vasti. Now, Niruha, if given, it is given after Niruhavasti, we are giving meat. Suppose Niruhavasti is given after meat, what will happen? This will cause Stambana of Mala and Anna, it will lead to Alasada. This will cause dosha aggravation, it's a severe situation causing Vishujika and Chapati. In cases of iatrogenic cases, when we do Vasti, that is improper tying of the Vasti Andra, pushing the total drug, quickly administering the Vasti Dravya, etc. One of the remedial measure is, of course, Abhyanga and Svedana plus Vadahara diet. In the Nasya Parihara Gala, the person has to be maintained in a windless space, light meal and lukewarm water, avoiding excess of fatty liquid diet, avoiding cold water for drinking and bathing, etc. Now, what will happen if you do Nasya once a person has taken meal? It will lead to Swasa and Kasa Chati because Urthavahi Srodha. Dosha will go to the causing Swasa and Kasa. If the patient has taken Sneha or Matsya, then Mukhanasa Srava. If the patient is hungry and then you do the Nasya, becomes Vadapoka. If the patient is thirsty and you do Nasya, there is increase in Vriddhi, Krishna Vriddhi. In case of Raktamoksha, foods which are neither very hot, very cold, and which are very light should be given because after the bloodletting procedure, the body is actually unstable with a low digestive capacity. So, food items which will kindle the digestion but will not aggravate, like spicy food, pungent food, avoiding day sleep as well. Now, I present to you the Department of Panchakarma VPSV Ayurveda College, Kottakkal. The courtesy is to them. They have a schedule. I have extracted the food part from that, the standard operative procedure. In the patient education, time of conception of food, kind of food and drink with respect to procedure is explained. Food conception prior to each procedure is well explained. We make sure that they also understood what they have been told. Advice should be given to the patient has to restrict from any solid food 3 hours prior to treatment. In the vitals of Panchakarma, digestion of the previous food should be ascertained before the final call for the procedure. Patient's previous meal should have been digested well before the treatment. Patya and Apatya, food, drinks, and regimens during Panchakarma are that which have been mentioned in Sneha Vitti. Gruel prepared with broken rice and wheat. Gruel prepared with broken rice, wheat, and green gram. Oats meal with diluted milk. Cooked banana. Boiled water with shungi, jiraga, and dhanega. What a warm supernatant of portion of the gruel. Thin soup of green gram. Milk diluted with equal boiled water. Now, Vamana. Kapha Utklesha diet is given on the day prior to Vamana. With we got our indigenously available idli vada prepared with black gram, curd rice, lassi, milk porridge prepared with black gram, payasam, fish curry, milk peda, jalebi, etc. On the day of Vamana, porridge prepared with rice powder is added with little ghee. For Vijayachana, on the prior day, we have a special rasam which is actually prepared in Panchakarma. The Panchakarma department teaches their patients. The diet on the day prior to Vijayachana, special rasam, sambar, there is lemon rice, tamarind rice. Because when we have people who are accustomed to lemon rice and tamarind rice, we ask them to do that. Then orange pineapple juice at night. The special rasam ingredients are sarshaba taila 5 ml, garlic 4 to 5 pieces, pepper powder 3 grams. The tamarind is kept in water for 15 minutes and the juice is taken. And mustard seeds, coriander powder, hingu 3 grams. Of course, there is curry. So take a pan, put the oil and season with mustard. Put the grounded garlic, garlic, coriander powder, pepper powder, and hingu. Fry for 3 to 4, saute it out for 3 to 4 minutes. Pour the tamarind juice, put the curry leaves, and cook it for 5 to 7 minutes. This is given on the day previous of Virecahana. Now, for the Peyadi karma, we are giving a Uthamasudhi protocol. For Annakala 1, 2, and 3, thin rice gruel with less amount of rice. Annakala 4, 5, and 6, thick gruel with less watery part. 7, 8, and 9, rice or idiyappam. Idiyappam is one where that is, it is made up of rice flour, but it is steamed. Idli and dal curry, green salad, and with oil and without oil. Consequent on 7th and 8th day. Annakala 10, 11, and 12, rice, ghee rice, meat soup, curry, buttermilk. Buttermilk preparations are always preferred to. In case of Madhyama Shuddhi, the diet will be the same, but it will repeat it for 2 Annakala each. And for our Shuddhi person, he will receive 1 Annakala of each diet. Now, for Kashaya Basti, usually we ask to have idiyappam. Bread is a second option actually. After Basti, rice with green gram curry, meat soup, moong dal, buttermilk, as per. But in Trivandrum Ayurveda College, we used to insist upon fish curries for non-vegetarians actually. Not fish fry, fish curry. Then food, easily digestible and less than the normal quantities advised after the hot water bath. The point is, the food should be taken after the bath immediately. Gruel prepared with broken rice and wheat. Gruel prepared with broken rice, wheat, and green gram later. Oatmeal and diluted milk. Cooked banana and rice with curry prepared with buttermilk, vegetables, kushpanda. So that is for the later part of the day. But just after the therapy, rice is given. Vegetables such as cucumber, ascot, pumpkin, pepper, ginger can be used instead of red chili. Even in the green chili, it's a good practice to remove the seeds of it. Use gooseberry and lemon instead of tamarind, and use rock salt instead of curry salt. So we have certain research scopes in this. It's very interesting because this is a topic which we do not actually explore much into. I had a conversation, an in-depth interview with many number of people. There is a wide range of difference in understanding of diet for Panchakarma. It is very indigenously associated. So these are some of the topics which I think many research scholars could actually think about. Research influence and food with Sneha Vasti, how food alters the pH, alters the gastric emptying, stimulating the secretion, what is the impact of viscosity of food on all the Panchakarma procedures, the food drug reaction, because it is happening almost simultaneously. Then prevalence of Panchakarma practices and dietic practices in different populations. As I said that when we talk to people of the northern part of India, of course, rice is not sadhya, and the Samsarjana Kriya is very different from what we follow, but the ground rules are almost the same. Then we can also have studies at a bio perspective at a cellular level, and we can also have studies at a social perspective or a public perspective. For example, cohorts with biomarkers, patient perceptions and compliance regarding Panchakarma therapies with special reference to diet also. Then there is a global variation in dietic practices for Panchakarma. So I think these are some of the topics which could be very interesting for both, all departments, but especially for Swastavarta and Panchakarma PTs. I think a lot more can be pumped in. And yes, very indebted to Dr. Subin VR. He is the professor at Department of Panchakarma at the College Kottakkal, and Dr. Vidya Unnikrishnan. She belongs to the Virecahana department of Kottakkal College. Then Dr. Devi and Anaka are they are Panchakarma. They have passed out. They are scholars, and the others, Dr. Liti, Dr. Vani, Dr. Shahnaz, Dr. Abha, Dr. Amrita. I'm very grateful to all of them. This has been a combined effort of collection and contribution. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patient hearing. I hope we could have come out with some new ideas. I'm very sorry for the bad net connection. I hope I was audible and you could see the slides. So, Can I switch on the camera now? It's okay now. Did I take too much of time? I'm sorry, I exceeded my time limit. Yeah, I can't hear you. Are you? I can't hear you, ma'am. I can't hear you.
Hello? Hello? I can't hear you. Something went wrong, I think. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? അയ്യോ അച്ചു ഒന്നും കേൾക്കുന്നില്ലടാ എനിക്ക്. I don't know. ഒന്നും കേൾക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്നില്ല. യെസ്. അല്ലല്ല എനിക്ക് അവരെ കേൾക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്നില്ല.
ഇയർഫോൺസ് കുഴപ്പമില്ല.
Ma'am, am I audible?
എനിക്കൊന്നും കേൾക്കുന്നില്ല. Yes, miss. Yes, miss. കേൾക്കുന്നുണ്ടോ? Okay. Yeah, there was some problem. Hello? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, for such a wonderful session. Ma'am, we
Yeah,
have
I'm sorry
few
for all
questions.
that. Yeah, please.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll try to
We have few
answer to
questions.
maximum. Yeah, please.
We have few questions regarding your session. So
Yeah,
among
please
them,
ask.
the first one is the rationality behind selection of Mamsa Rasa in Samsarjana Krama in the present day scenario, and if so, what is the mode of administration?
Okay, Mamsarasa has been classically mentioned, and I said one of the thesis in which I had taken the reference was we have got practical difficulty of giving Mamsarasa. For example, non-vegetarian people is fine, but in a population of vegetarian, Mamsarasa is a real problem. So what we found was that right now, what we do is a certain part of the place, they use milk instead of Mamsarasa. That the Mamsarasa is used for the fat content. So we have to find out more and more applications and interventions which would be congenial to different populations. Mamsarasa, how we use Mamsarasa? That's what you asked, right? We cook Mamsa. That's what we do. We take Mamsa and then it is reduced to 1/4 of the part. It is used. It is widely used in our part. But the point comes when it is cannot be taken up by vegetarians. So that is a practical problem there.
Thank you. And the next question is, so Anupa and Jangala Mamsa Rasa in the present day scenario, to consider.
Yeah. So what we do is goat mamsa, goat, basic things that we take. Okay, in this part, especially in Kerala, beef is not an issue. Okay, and chicken soup is taken, and goat is preferred taken, and fish. This is how we accommodate. But there are conditions where, for example, late was of the area, he had actually used frog meat also for certain purposes. I mean, those physicians who are more into, what I personally feel is the meat found in and around the desha is a very important factor. And for example, when you talk about kukkuda mamsa, there is a big difference in the farm meat. I mean, the ones which are the hen which you get from the poultry farm, and the ones that are from our domestic places. There is a big difference. But what is available and how satmya you are to it, I think in places where you do not have an access, where people are not using meat, it's not a good option. For example, in this part of, for example, I work in Malappuram here because it's Desha Satmiya. People's acceptance to Jangala, Anupa, Mamsa is very high. Okay.
And the next question is Kapha Utklesha Ahara before Vamana Karma.
Yeah.
So, which fruits can be given? Can Kadali Phala can be given, and in the which form can it be administered?
I don't think Kadali Phala can cause Utklesha. Here, the fruits which cause actually Utklesha is meant. Fruit, the problem with fruit, for example, very sweet fruit, what we do, I have not seen much of giving of a fruit actually. When you give Kadali, not we, especially the one which is we call not the green ones, you know. Let me tell you, I don't know the name of it. The problem with Kadali is it does not cause much of an Utklesha. The idea is whichever ahara is causing Utklesha. For example, most of us take milk. Okay. If you take milk with more amount of sugar in it. That's idea. And if you are accustomed to milk, you can take peda. No, if you are taking fruit, if at all you have to take fruit, I think taking more number of fruits would be good. But and maybe sour fruits and very sweet fruits are good. Do not take fruits which are unripened. That is not going to prove the point. The point is those items which will make you feel a little bit of mandada. Any food item actually, because as we were discussing, the good point of Vamana is this is the only place where you can do as much as samashana that you want, because the idea is to irritate and in a sense it should not be too klesha. Point is that we have to make the dosha which is already detached from the srotas come out. So the food items which will have more of a sweet item, more of snigdada, which will make you actually vomit. So the point is you can have lot of food which will cause apatya and patya together. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. And the next question is, can fruits be consumed during the Samsarjana Krama?
Yes, you mean fruits, right?
Yeah.
Fruit, yeah. Fruits, yeah. As I said, fruits which are boiled, steamed fruit is a better option. Even apple, for example, when we worked with foreigners, they eat more of apple, right? So what we said was that steamed apple is a better option. Steamed apple. So whatever, because apple as it is has got a kashaya madhura rasa, and when you steam it, it becomes lakhu. We have to give things which are in a steamed form. And when you take raw, always raw food is guru. So always try to make things steamed in Samsarjana.
Thank you, ma'am. And the last question is, the Samashana, it is suggested for Kapha Utklesha before Vamana Karma.
Yeah.
So here the Samashana can be considered as Patya and Apatya together. But Madam, can you please suggest some of the food articles can be given as Samashana in the present day scenario?
Yeah, like all the bakery foods, for example. Like we are not all the food items that we told, like payasa, okay, like jalebi. It is one after the other. Payasa and jalebi are as it is fine, but imagine eating them together in a large quantity. That itself is samashana. The point is you are making a person eat a particular amount of food at a particular duration in a magnitude which is combined together. Basically, payasa has not a problem with at all. And then you take jalebi also, just pramida ashana and samashana together. So I found this part very interesting because it is therapeutically induced samashana. All forms of I think in Karnataka I think we have got lots of sweet food items, very sweet place. In our place it is less of a sweet, so we take more of vada and all these things. But I think for you people your 5 to 6 sweet varieties would be samashana with milk. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am, for your valuable answers. So looks like we have answered all the questions which are raised by the delegates. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. I hope I'm not taken. Yeah.
Thank you, madam, for taking time out of your busy schedule and to share your expertise with us. On behalf of Department of Panchakarma and Swasthavritta, We are very grateful to you, ma'am. Thanks from all of us.
I'm so sorry for the initial troubles. I'm sorry. I hope I've not taken much of your time also. I exceeded my time actually. Thank you very much. Convey my regards. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Abhijit sir, can we start?
Yes, yeah, we can start.
Yes, sir. I'll give a small introduction. Later we can start the presentation.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
All right. Sorry, because I couldn't hear anything actually previously. All right. So first of all, good morning. I must say the very early morning because I'm talking to you when it's 7:22 in my clock now. I'm talking to you from London, and thank you very much for the introduction. That was not audible, but that's absolutely fine. I hope we won't have any technical issues in this session. I was listening to Dr. Anupama, and that was such an insightful and like in-depth presentation, and I was just mesmerized with her experience and the knowledge and what she has shared with all of us. So I would like to thank all of basically the delegates, specifically Principal Dr. Sarbeswarkar, HOD of the Panchakarma, Dr. Veena Rao, and HOD of the Swasthavruta department, Dr. Sudhakar Reddy, who contacted me for this today's session. I'd like to start sharing my screen while I'm talking. So is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, sir. It is visible, sir.
Okay, lovely. So yeah, so this is I think it's a day 4 today, and I have been given the topic role of Panchakarma in Asthidhatu Swasthyam, that is the bone health. See, all the students and lecturers, professors, HODs, whoever is listening, it was such a wonderful morning for me, to listen first about the Panchakarma and the diet. And Dr. Anupama has already thrown a fantastic light on like how important the concept of diet and how the diet and Panchakarma is correlated. And now I want to throw my light, of course, to the best of my ability, the best of my capacity, and best of my experience, to convey you what I have understood about the Asthidhatu and what I have understood and what I'm practicing about the Asthidhatu. So let's start. First of all, I would like to clear the aims and objectives, what I'm going to talk roughly, just in a brief. So we need to try and understand basically what the Asthidhatu Swasthya is actually. When we talk about the Swasthya, what actually Asthidhatu Swasthya is, because the Swasthya itself is a very broad concept. I'm going to be very specific to talk about the Asthidhatu Swasthya. So what that is, we will talk a little bit about that. Then we will talk about the Asthidhatu Kshaya Lakshana. So what typical symptoms are there, and we need to consider that when we are talking about the Asthidhatu. Also, we need to consider, and we cannot forget the Asthidhatu and Pakwashaya correlation. That we will throw the light on, that we will discuss a bit. Most importantly, for which all the students and particularly who want to be the physicians, Ayurvedic physicians in the future, they will be very keen to understand the various medical conditions which we do see in a daily practice, and they are related with the degenerative changes of the Asthidhatu. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And today's topic, most importantly, what Panchakarma procedures we do actually to prevent and to treat these degenerative changes or any other pathologies associated with the Asthidhatu. So briefly, these are the areas in which we're going to discuss in the given time. I'll try and be very concise. I will try and be very to the point, and I will try and finish the session in time as well. So let's start. First of all, like, what is this Asthidhatu Swasthyam? Now, Asthidhatu, when we talk about, all of you, I mean, just to share with you, since 2009, I'm practicing in London, and I practiced in Pune. I'm from Pune, actually, from Maharashtra. I noticed a huge difference practice in India and practice in the West. And I'm going to keep talking about that while we will discuss about this topic. When I started practicing here, obviously, like, it's very difficult for the people in the West to convey them and make them understand what the concepts or what the basic principles of the Ayurveda are. So when I talk about the Asthidhatu, they always talk about these two things: calcium levels and vitamin D levels. Of course, we don't get the sun here in London. I mean, when the sunlight is there, today it's a good sunlight there. So we all become very happy. And in India, there is ample of sunlight. So vitamin D and the calcium, that's where basically the topic finishes when we talk about the Asthidhatu or about the health of the Asthidhatu or the bone in the West. But see, the Ayurveda is such a beautiful medical science which gives the inside out more than this. And here we should not forget about the two important things, and the Agni, Shante Agnam Rete Yukte. We all know that, how immense importance is, how important it is, the Agni thing in the Ayurveda. So when we're going to talk about the Asthidhatu, we should not forget about the Agni. When I say Agni, obviously, like, I'm talking about all the Agnis. Now, I don't want to take more time talking about the Agni because already that's been, very nicely explained by Dr. Anupama. But one most important point I would like to highlight here is not about the Jatra Agni, but the Asthidhatu Agni. And here is the key, and here is the uniqueness of the Ayurveda. Ayurveda's physiology explanation is very unique. It explains the physiology very nicely. So if we try and see, if you can see my cursor, we know, like, along with the Kshiradadinaya or with the Kalekpotanaya, all the nutrition that flows from dhatu to dhatu. So it comes to the rasa, from rasa to rakta, rakta to mons, mons to meda, and from meda it goes to the asti. So when we're going to talk about the asti dhatu, we should not forget that the asti dhatu has its own agni. Asti dhatu has its own hunger. Asti dhatu has its own appetite, right? And whatever the nourishment comes to the asti dhatu, that needs to be digested. Similarly, like our Jataragni, we feel hungry, we eat, we digest. And of course, after the process of the digestion, the Sara Kitta Vibhajan happens, right? So Kitta Bhag needs to go out of the body and the Sara Bhag needs to get into the body. So similar process does happens at the level of the Asti Dhatu. So when we talk about the Asti Dhatu Swastham, the most important thing is we need to give the importance to the Agni of this Asti Dhatu. Now, I would like to take you to the Jora Chikitsa Adhyay, where the Dhatu Pachak Yoga has been described by Acharya Charak. In Ashtanga Hridaya, it has been described as well. And in the practice where I was practicing in Pune, in Maharashtra, using this Dhatu Pachak Yoga into the clinical practice is a daily routine. I mean, without that, basically, we don't start treatment. Let's put it this way. The reason behind that is when we analyze any condition, what we try and analyze is which dosha is out of balance, which dhatu has been affected, and we start with the Deepan and Pachan, which has been explained into the previous lecture already. But when we need to work onto the Asti Dhatu, we need to follow the same sequence, Deepan, Pachan, into the Asti Dhatu. And in Jora Chikitsa Adhyay, the Asti Majja Pachak has been very nicely explained. Guduchi, Musta, and Amalaki, if I'm not wrong. So these are the three herbs which need to be given to do the Pachana of what? Of the Asti Dhatu Agni. So Asti Dhatu Agni needs to be basically looked after. It needs to be enhanced. And if we do that, then whatever the nourishment with the diet or with basically any herbs or whatever we want to give, if we do that, then that's going to be useful. Most of the times what happens is in the West, as I'm talking, I'm going to talk more about the West. What happens is when we talk about this, the calcium tablets they do take, or they do take the vitamin D levels, or they do try and eat the basically calcium rich food, which is like the milk is there, yogurt is there, and there is no concept of this Asti Dhatu Agni or anything like that. And unfortunately, they don't absorb. On top of that, their other dietary factors are not very good. I mean, as you know, West is basically the full of the junk food. Not always. There are many good healthy eaters in this country as well. In fact, majority of them are the healthy eaters, but the kind of the diet which is like the raw food eating, or a lot of bread basically gets consumed, and the vishamashan basically, or the viruddhana consumption is a lot here. Consumption of alcohol is a lot here. So that all affects basically to the Jataragni and ultimately to the Asti Dhatu Agni. So when we need to consider the swasthyam, the most important we should give is to the Asti Dhatu Agni, and we should do the Deepan and Pachan of this Asti Dhatu Agni with the relevant herbs. So that was the basically most important thing I wanted to share with you. Now let's go and jump straight away to the Asti Dhatu Kshay Lakshana. Now you must be basically thinking why I have jumped to the Kshay and not the Vriddhi, and why I'm talking about the Kshay straight away. The reason behind that is in the clinical practice, when all the students particularly, because I'm going to focus more towards the students, as when I was student, I had a lot of questions, and I was always keen to understand the Ayurvedic concepts, and when I will sit in the chair, what I will see and what kind of the patients I will be seeing. So when you will be practicing students, you will be seeing actually more and more of the Asti Dhatu patients, and very less or very few, I mean hardly I have seen any Asti Dhatu Vriddhi kind of the Lakshan, because the reason behind that is the degenerative changes are inevitable. I mean everyone will show the degenerative changes, and particularly talking about the Asti Dhatu, the degenerative changes are very rapid in certain conditions according to the age. There are certain conditions where the Asti Dhatu Kshay happens very rapidly. As I said, according to the age, menopause, after the menopause into the female, lack of nutrition, due to various reasons, of course, like poverty is not a problem in the West. What is there is the lack of, basically, rather than the nutrition, it is the lack of knowledge, lack of understanding into the diet. That can be the cause. Alcohol consumption, as I said, junk food, fizzy drinks, a lot of fizzy drinks, that kind of habit. So we do see this. Medical conditions, and as a side effect of basically some drug treatments or medical treatments, we do see here clinically a lot of patients with the autoimmune conditions. Like, of course, these autoimmune conditions are diagnosed with the allopathic medical science, like irritable bowel syndrome, or even ulcerative colitis, or Crohn's diseases. For these conditions, steroids are always hampered. Steroids are given in a lot of amount to the patients, and we do see as a side effect of the steroids, even into the young age of the ulcerative colitis patients, asti dhatu kshay. So a lot of reasons are there for the asti dhatu kshay, and we clinically always see the asti dhatu kshay patients. That's why the asti dhatu kshay lakshana to consider is very important. So Acharya Charak has explained the lakshana of asti dhatu kshay into the Kiyanta Shirsi Adhyaya of the Sutrasthana, which is the Kesha Loma Nakash Mashru, Vija Prapatanam Shramaha, Neyam Astikshaya Lingam, Sandhi Shaithilyam Evacha. So in Astidhatu Kshay, Keshapatan, Lomapatan, Shmashrupatan, Dantapatan, these are the symptoms, along with the Sandhi Shaithilya. Now, if you take each symptom of that, particularly there are the two symptoms I would like to talk. We cannot talk about every symptom. Keshapatan. So here is the most important thing. It opens the entire door or the new wing of the trichology. Trichology is a very big industry in the world, all over the world, in the Western world as well. A lot of people here as well, they do come for their hair loss. And whenever they come for the problem with the hair loss, we consider that as the asti dhatu kshay as a predominant, and we do see clinically a predominant factor of the asti dhatu kshay is there. And what we do is we work on to the asti dhatu. Sandhi shaithilya is one of the very classical, another symptom is there. And whenever if we see the population in the Western country, sandhi shaithilya will be present, or sandhi shul will be present to more than 50% of the people or the general population here above the age of 50 or 60. And that is the fact because of the weathery conditions over here and because of the dietary habits, which we have discussed already. Acharya Vagbhat, he has explained the asti tod as an additional lakshan. So he says the astyanya asti todaha sadanam dantakeshan akadishu. So asti tod, dantapatan, keshpatan, and nakapatan, these are the lakshans of the asti dhatu kshay according to the Vagbhat Ashtanga Hruday. Now, here is the another good thing which Acharya Shushruta has mentioned. Asti kshaye asti shulam, danta nakabhango, raukshamcha. Now, rauksha, that rukshata, is an additional symptom basically Acharya Shushruta has given there. So as we see, the keshapatan, lomapatan, nakapatan, shmashrupatan, or basically problem with the teeth, or the problem with the joints. These are the main symptoms, but we should not forget if the dryness starts coming on this, so dry hair, that can be treated or that can be seen as an asti dhatu kshay as well. So Acharya Shushruta has given that highlight. I mean, I can't forget one case which came to me into the clinical practice. The patient started dyeing the hair actually, and in a few months he started seeing that the black lining started coming on his nail. So here basically no one could give the explanation, the doctors and the trichologist as well, what was going wrong. But Ayurvedic concept, the basic principles of the Ayurveda, as we know, like Kesha and Naka, basically they are the Malaswarup of the Asti Dhatu. So that can give the explanation. So what I'm trying to explain to you is we should not forget our basic principles in our clinical practice. And as Acharya, all these Acharyas, they have explained, we do see that clinically. It's the only like we need to develop that kind of the vision. So these are the Asti Dhatu Kshay Lakshana. Now, the next principle which we need to always consider while considering the swasthya of or the health of the bone or of the Asti Dhatu is the Pakvasha and Asti Dhatu Sambandha, or the correlation. Very well known verse is there, Yayava Pittadhara Kala, Sayava Majjadhara Kala, and a lot of pathologies can be treated considering that verse. Here, the most important verse for the today's topic is the Yayava Purishadhara Kala, sa eva astidhara kala or purishadhara kala eva astidhara kala. So Dallan, who is a commentator onto the Sushrut Samhita, he has given a very good commentary on that. So Kala, if you try and understand, Purishdhara Kala and Astidhara Kala, Kala is basically, it reflects the structural and functional boundaries of the organs actually. So out of the 7 Kala mentioned, 5th one is the Purishdhara Kala, which is situated inside the elementary tract, which starts or which commences from the Yakrut and Antra. And this basically Maladhar Kala or Purushadhara Kala separates the Mala at the Unduk, that is basically the cecum area of our digestive tract. Now, in Sushrut Samhita Kalpastan, in chapter 4, basically, Sarpadrashta Vishya that is the adhyay in which basically Sushruta talks about the different vegas of the poisons, of the particularly Sarpadansh of the poison. There he explains basically how this vish travels from one kala to the other kala. And that's where we try and understand, that's where we get the references, or we can get the vision how these kalas basically are. So Astidhara Kala, typically talking about that, has been, Acharya Dallan has considered that the meaning of Dhatvantareshu. So there is a shlok in there where Sushruta says Dhatvantareshu. He has considered, the Dallan has considered that as, very interestingly, Dhatu Madhyeshu. That means basically they are present inside the Dhatu and not in between the two Dhatus. So Acharya Sushrut has described the Kala also into the Garbha Vyakaranadhyay, which is Sushrut Sharistan 4. So Acharya Dallan has pointed that Dhatu is related to the Dharan, and like Sapta Dhatu, he has also mentioned the Kapha, Pitta, Purish as Dhatu. So this is the uniqueness. Now he has said a Kapha is the Dhatu as well, Pitta is the Dhatu as well, and Purish is Dhatu as well. So the 5th Kala, which is the Purishdhara Kala, is situated in the intermediary region between the Kapha and the Purish Dhatu. And now the most important thing which I want to mention, it is very important and which gives the vision for the clinical practice. That is, when there is a kleda formation in the intermediary between the dhatus due to ushma of the respective dhatus, that means which one? The kapha and purish, the process of the parinaman, that means the transformation happens, and that forms the kala actually. So according to this definition, Purishdhara Kala and Astidhara Kala, they form the kleda present in between the dhatus, that is between the kapha and the purish. So what I'm trying to say here, or what Dallan is trying to say here, is if we become successful to create the kleda between the Purishdhara, that means between the Purush and the Kapha. So the Purishdhara Kala eva Astidhara Kala is there. What we need to create is the kleda in the Purish and in the Kapha. Then the nourishment of basically, or the production of the Asti Dhatu is basically possible over there. So considering these points, basically we can definitely say like Purishdhara Kala is the Astidhara Kala. And here the most important thing is we get the clear connection or the clear understanding of the gastrointestinal tract, and gastrointestinal disorders, they can lead to the impact of the bone health. So in clinical practice, we do see like, irritable bowel syndrome, even the severe IBS, that can cause the impact onto the bone. Or as I previously said, ulcerative colitis, even that can impact, even without the steroids, that can impact onto the bone. Allopathic medical science talks a lot about the enteric nervous system now. What is the enteric nervous system? So even that link we do get over here. So we should not forget, like, Astidhara Kala and Purishdhara Kala is the same. And if we want to work onto the Asti, we should keep and maintain the health of the Purish and the Kapha. Now, and again, going next to the next point is the Pakvashay. So Pakvashay is the main site of the Vata, and Asti is also the main site of the Vata. So we should not forget all this process of the Purish, Sarakettu Vibhajana, everything that happens into the Unduk, that is the part of the Pakvashay. And this Pakvashay is the site of the Vata. And that is why we also always need to consider the health of Pakvashay in terms of maintaining the health of Astidhatu. So if someone's Pakvashay is not healthy, and if we are expecting the Astidhatu to be healthy, that's not going to be possible. So we need to work onto the digestive system, Pakvashay, and predominantly on what? Onto the reducing the Vata, but increasing that kleda into the Purish and Kapha. That's most important point. Now, there are some basic principles which we need to consider when we treat. Now we know like what we need to do. So we need to reduce the vata and we need to reduce the kleda, basically, or that sneha part into the purusha and into the kapha. And that is possible with different principles. So Acharya Charak, he gives the most important principle over here, and that is the asti majjagat vayu chikitsa. Now, one point I want to make it very clear here, and which is very important into the clinical practice as well, is like we cannot separate only asti dhatu kshaya, or we cannot see, okay, there is only asti dhatu kshaya. Okay, asti and majja, they are always together, or there is never ever in the lifespan, okay, now the asti dhatu kshaya is finished and now the majja kshaya has started. It never happens like that. It happens along. So Acharya Charak gives brilliantly here asti majja gat vayu chikitsa principle, which says the bahya abhyantartaha snehair asti majjagatam jayet. That means the bahyata we need to, and abhyantarataha we need to use what? We need to use the sneha. And that is the key point there. So asti and majja gat, basically whenever we are considering the asti dhatu kshaya, we need to consider the majja dhatu kshaya as well. And we do see the mixed symptoms of this into the clinical practice. So what can be the best? So the best thing is the bahya snehan and abhyantar snehan. So bahya snehan with different Ayurvedic oils, which the Ayurveda is very rich with, and abhyantar with the different ghee or different ghee formations. Ayurveda is very rich in that as well. So here are some explanations, like, examples. Is the bahya snehan can be done with the chandan mala lakshadi. Laksha is the key herb in there. And abhyantar, panchatikta ghrutu gugul. That's always my favorite in my clients. I always use that as a snehapan. Now we will talk about the basti in depth, but here I would like to just let you know, like basti is going to be the prime, the part of the panchakarma while treating the asti dhatu swasthya. Why? We will talk about that. But before that, just try and understand the basic principle which we did see here. The pakvashay and the vata. These are the two important points, and we need to work on that. And that's why the basti, there cannot be anything better and beautiful and effective than the basti. So basti is the most important thing. So there are a number of bastis which we do use actually in a different asti dhatu kshaya conditions. But I cannot resist myself without talking about the Tiktak Shir Basti. So there are the number of bastis, as I said, Tiktak Shir Basti is there, Erandamuladi Niruha Basti is there, Rajayapan or Mustadiyapan Basti is there, Majja Basti is there, which is into the clinical practice, or different Matra Bastis can be used. What we will do, just because of the time constraint and everything, I will talk about the only one or two important bastis, how to make that and how they are effective, and then we will proceed further. Right, let's take the most important one, which is the Tiktak Shir Basti. Now we have seen the Purishdhara Kala, Astidhara Kala, and we know one important another thing is the Majja Shukra Samuttanam Aushadam Swadu Tiktakam. Now considering these two things, Tikta Ras is very important. Now here it's not only the Tikta Ras, along with the Kshir and along with the ghee. These are the ingredients. So if you see the ingredients here, the churna of the guduchi or kira tikta or patol yashti madhu, they can be made into the like a kshiripak vidhi with the milk, and then added what? Mahatikta gruth, panchatikta gruth or amrutadi gruth. So this kind of the gruth we need to add. Without the ghee and without the milk, only tiktaras won't do that. Why is that? Because according to the Arundatta, which is a commentator, the substance having the snigdha and shoshana properties. So the substance needs to have the snigdha and shoshana properties, and also it should produce the kharatva. So this three combination is very important. It should be snigdha, it should be shoshana, and at the same time it should be producing kharatva. That increases the asti, and asti is having the kharatva, which we all know. But no substance is available with these three qualities or with these three combination together, snigdhata, shoshanata, but at the same time doing the kharatva. So here what happens is basically snigdha and shoshan. So kshir, that is basically the milk, and the gruth, they are the snigdha in nature and advised to be used along with the substance which is tikta, which possesses the shoshana property. So snigdhata has been achieved, shoshata has been achieved basically, and this combination has the, when we combine this, the kharatva can be obtained at the same time. So we fulfill our criteria to reproduce the tissues of the bone or the bony tissues with the snigdhata, with the shoshan shakti, and with the kharatva. And that is why basically Tiktakshir Basti is very, very effective. A lot of research has been done actually on this. Different scholars, they have published their research articles on this. And I do use in my clinical practice as well Tiktakshir Basti, and it gives the tremendous results. It gives the very good results. Generally, we do give that for 21 days to 45 days. Very rarely I have done more than 21 days, to be honest with you, because in the West, people are not very happy to take the longer treatments, honestly speaking. But yeah, they do take up to the 21 days. So using this, we should make, kashaya of the churna, add milk with the same quantity, make the shirpak, add the and boil together only to make milk remaining, shirpak with it, add the ghee, and then push the basti. So this gives the effect as a balya, as the rasayan, and most importantly, dhatu poshak. It works as the dhatu poshak. Second important basti is the majja basti. Quickly, we will just review. So, Dr. Anupama madam, she has mentioned previously as well, into the Chaturvida sneha, basically, there are the different sneha pan, but majja is also uttam sneha into the Chaturvida sneha. And here in the majja basti, that has been used. As I explained to you before, asti dhatu kshay cannot be alone. It will be along with the majja. So that is the simultaneous process. And that's why majja basti becomes very effective into the asti dhatu kshay lakshana or asti dhatu kshay pathologies. So bone marrow of the lamb, or basically a buck or billy, that is basically a male goat, is taken 250 milligrams, water 1 liter, mahatikta grut 30 grams, madhu 30 gram, dugdha 100 ml, manuka kasha basically 50 ml, and yashti madhu churna 10 grams. Preparation. So what we do is 250 ml kashay with 250 ml selected bone marrow plus 1 liter of the water. Add the above ingredients in sequence and push this basti very slowly. This basti is basically very heavy, to be honest with you, compared to the Tiktakshir basti. Heavy as in what? Basically, we need to push that drip with the drip method very, very slowly. And we need to give a little bit, basically, reassurance to the client, like this basti will help. The reason behind that is I have seen like sometimes after giving the majja basti, their agni is reducing as well. So we need to observe the pakwashay, we need to observe basically the agni, jatar agni, we need to observe basically their diet, and we need to follow all the all those basic principles of the basti, or all the niyams of the basti when we are doing particularly with the majja basti. What are the benefits of the majja basti? So all the majja vikar, basically jirnavat vikar or dhatukshay janyavat prakop, whenever we do find, that is effective in that. Rasa rakta mans asti majja dhatukshay, even that is effective in that. Asti majja gat vikar, kshayjanya mastishka vikar, even that is effective in that. And kshayjanya prushtavansha, that is the spinal cord related concern. So all this spondylitis, spondylosis, or disc bulge, all these pathologies basically can be effectively treated with these bastis. We have the other bastis as well, but I will just skip some bastis just because of the time thing. And what I would like to do, I will skip the Eranda Muladi Niroha basti. I would like to talk about the conditions which we do see with the Asti Dhatu Kshay. So first and most important condition is the osteoarthritis. So in clinical practice, we do see the Janu, Kati, and Parvasandhi. These arthritis very commonly. In UK, approximately 8.5 million people have painful joints attributed to the osteoarthritis. Osteoarthritis is more common in women and people in older age groups. So X-ray studies show that at least 50% of the people older than 65 have evidence of the osteoarthritis. So that much osteoarthritis is here in this country. And we do work on osteoarthritis with the basti treatment and with the panchakarma treatment. What do we do? So these are some highlights only. Don't consider this is all the thing. But as I said, like according to my understanding, according to my basically clinical practice, I'm trying to give you the best. So Abhyantar Snehapan, I do use the Panchatikta Grutugugul, Bala Shogandha, the tail sometimes, Dhanvantar 101 or Kshirbala 101. I do use the Kshirbala 101 when we do start seeing like there are the more of the nerves related symptoms. But my favorite, as I always said, is the Panchatikta Gruta Gugul, because it penetrates deep inside the tissues, and it is the fantastic to like the give as the Snehapan. In only Vatajanya Shul, Til Tail, basically that I have used as well in the Vardhaman Matra, that is 30, 60, 90 ml up to the 220 ml. So if we see there is no ama, of course, like before starting the Snehapana, we need to do the Deepan Pachan, and then, after that only we can come to the stage of the Snehapana. But sometimes there is only Vata, and in that case, basically, we can use the plain sesame oil, Til Tail. So this can be used for Bahya Snehana, for the Abhyanga, and which is the most favorite thing in the West. I mean, many of the practitioners who work with the Western country people, they know like how favorite the massage thing is into the West. Unfortunately, some of the people, they look into the Ayurveda just as a massage thing, and when they come inside the premises and when they see a lot is happening, then they get mesmerized and fascinated with all this. So Bahya Snehana is very favorite, but here the most important thing is to use the Bala Ashwagandha tail, Shir Bala tail, Sachar tail, Nirgundi tail, this kind of the oils. Sthanik or local, that means if it is into the joints only, particularly knee joint, particularly lower back, or into the metaphalanges or phalanges, then we should be doing the Janu Basti, we should be doing the Kati Basti, that is for the Tarpana. And if the inflammation is present, we should be doing the Patrapinda Swed or the Nadi Swed. So this is how we do into the osteoarthritis. Swedana, when we consider the Swedana part, the Patraputali Swed with the Karvir Patra Saindo or Sacharadi tail, that's what we do. And if the inflammation is present, then Shashti Pinda Swed or the Navrakizi, that is very famous name into the Kerala. So that's what we do. Just to share with you, in the West, we do have the struggle, or we have the problems with the availability of the herbs. Particularly when I talk about the Patra Potili Swed, making these leaves available is very, very difficult, and we never get the fresh leaves. So we get these dried leaves, unfortunately, and we need to use that. And still we do get the results, to be honest with you, and still we do see the effect of that. So practicing in India and practicing in West, that can be a different topic to talk about. But that is one of the difficulty there. If Virecahana needs to be considered, and Virecahana is the condition, we need to give the Mrudu Virecahana with the Sneha, something like Erandal tail, castor oil, or something like Trifala, Nishottar, or Bahava. And if the Basti needs to be considered into the osteoarthritis, the Matra Basti with various oils, or specifically Ashwagandha Digrut. I have seen this a very good result with the Ashwagandha Digrut. The reason behind that is, whenever the osteoarthritis patients, they do come, they don't come only for the pain, but they have always basically, associated symptoms, associated problems. And we need to, as an Ayurvedic physician, as an Ayurvedic clinician, we need to give all the best what we can. So they are disturbed in their daily life, they are disturbed in their daily activities to do on, and that gives immense impact on their confidence level in their family life and number of things. And Ashwagandha Digrut, basically, that works fantastic in the form of the Basti, actually, and I have seen the good results with that. Bala Siddhak Shir or the Gruta Basti can be used as well when we need to do the Bruhan, or we need to give the nourishment, or Guduchi Siddha Gruta Basti, when that has been used. Lepa, Jadamayadi Lep is very popular into the Kerala, and we are using here as well. Dashanga Lep I hardly use, to be honest with you, but there is a classical reference, that's why I have added this into the Lepa category of the osteoarthritis. The second category, the second most important thing we do see is the osteoporosis, the degenerative changes. And just to share with you my topic when I was doing the MD, Master of Doctorate in Pune, was the osteoporosis, Astidhatu Kshay, and the Navnit, how the Navnit is useful, the effect of Navnit onto the Astidhatu Kshay with special reference to Sarvada Sarva Bhavanam, Samanya Vishesh Siddhanta. That was my topic. And since then, I'm always interested in this osteoporosis. So it often referred to the silent disease because it doesn't shows basically the symptom, but abruptly the fractures can happen, or abruptly basically some symptoms can come, and then people get, oh, am I having the osteoporosis? Because into the osteopenia condition, there is no any symptom. Almost basically 3 million people in the UK, they are seems to having this osteoporosis. So what I'm trying to say is coming to the point how we treat the osteoporosis with the Panchakarma. So again, it's Abhyantar Snehapan with the Panchatikta Gruta Gugul or Kshir Bala 101, Bahya Snehapan with the Chandan Bala Lakshadi Tel, Bahya Snehan, sorry, Swedan basically with the Shashti Pinda Swed or the Navrakizi. That is the best method to use. And the Basti, Tiktakshir Basti and the Majja Basti. So here, Majja Basti and the Tiktakshir Basti, we need to differentiate between the client, what can be used. If the Agni is better, if the Bala is basically slightly better, I do always prefer to go for the Majja Basti. If the Agni is not basically very good, if the patient is lean and more Vata and the heavy degenerative changes are there, I always prefer the Tiktakshir Basti. And I have seen the very good results with the Tiktakshir Basti into the Western countries. Next, we do generally see into the clinical practice is the cervical and lumbar spondylosis. So Panchakarma and cervical and lumbar spondylosis is the same, but need to be differentiated based on to the location, because into the neck region, some different treatments we need to do, and into the lumbar, into the lower back region, into the lumbar region, we need to do some different treatments. What difference? One gross difference is there is of the nasya. Into the cervical spondylitis, we definitely administer the part of the Panchakarma nasya. And into the lumbar spondylitis, we can or we cannot, depends. So this is the gross difference. And of course, like, the Nadi Swed is very effective. We have seen in both actually cervical spondylosis as well as the lumbar spondylosis. Talking about the Snehapan, so we do use, and I have used the Kshirbala Tel. If it's available, Shatapaki. If it's not, the normal Kshirbala Tel, whatever is available. But Kshirbala has given the very good results into the cervical and lumbar spondylitis, because it's deep penetrating and it works onto the asti and the majja at the in both the ways, because into the pathology of the spondylosis, it's not only asti we need to work onto the majja as well. Dhanvantar Tel can be used, but most important thing is we should not forget this Snehapana. It should be given after the meal. That is particularly into the cervical spondylosis, because it's the Urdhva Jatrugat. Stanik Snehan massage can be done basically gently with the along with the paraspinal muscles and with the regular strokes onto the spine, with the Bala Tel, with the Shigru Tel, Kshir Bala Tel, Sacharadi Tel, or Dhanvantar Tel. Also, we need to consider 3 or 4 important points over here. One is the Dhatukshay, that means the degenerative changes on which we are talking about. Second important thing is the Marga Avrod. We always see the Marga Avrod, because as I said, we don't see only Asti Dhatu or only Asti Majja Dhatukshay. Along with that, we do see the Vat Prakop as well. Constipation is the very common thing which we do see here. And the Marga Avrod with that is very common in this. And then we need to consider the Asti Dhatu Vikruti Lakshana. So what we do is sometimes we do the bastis for the Mala Shodhan first. Then we do the bastis, few matra bastis, that is for the Anuloman, that is to reduce the Marga Avrod. And then actually we come to the bastis which we want to give to the bastis, like the Tiktakshir basti or the Majja basti, as I said. So this is very important, because if we don't consider the Agni, if we don't consider the Marga Avrod, or if we don't consider basically, the Mala Shodhan, then the bastis, if you start directly with the Tiktakshir basti, that's not going to be that effective. So these points are very important to consider the Marga Avrod. Sarvanga Snehan, that means full body massage, in the chronic condition is very important. If the chronicity is there, if the years and years the patient is having this spondylitis or spondylosis condition, it basically needs to be considered, to give the full body massage. Shirodhara, that is one of the therapy which we always give, because the stress, anxiety, daily back pain, if you can imagine the patient is coming, waking up first thing in the morning and his day starts with the lower back pain. He gets frustrated and it becomes the daily practice that impacts on the work, that impacts on to the family life, that impacts on number of things. So in that condition we do work with the Shirodhara. So that can be done along with the Brahmi, Jatamansi, and particularly into the cervical spondylosis and into the neck and shoulder pain, that is the Manyashul and Skandashul, Shirodhara helps a lot. Griva Basti, Kati Basti, or Merudanda Basti, that means along the entire spine Basti, that we do for the Poshan, Bruhan, and Vatshaman. So the Kativasti itself is a very fantastic treatment. I mean, I have seen the good results. In fact, I was the victim, unfortunately, for the lower back pain. And I have taken the sessions of the Kativasti, and I felt basically, the Vata channelizing process, such a wonderful this process, simple Kativasti process does. So Kativasti is a very famous therapy into the Western countries nowadays for the simple lower back pain. I mean, the clients or the patients, basically, they do come on their own to get the Kativasti done. It is that famous. Navrakizi, basically, which needs to be considered into the Krusharugi if the bala is less, Dhatukshayajanya Samprapti, and Maunsagatvat. If the pain is there along with the joint pain, along with the lower back pain and this pain, if the paraspinal muscles are very painful and if the stiffness is there, Navrakizi needs to be used. Patrapinda Swed, basically that needs to be used to reduce the pain and the inflammation. Nadi Swed, basically that needs to be used to reduce the spasm. Getting the spasms is a daily thing for cervical and lumbar spondylosis patients. What happens is, with the small movements with the neck or little bit movement with the lower back, the muscles, they will try and prevent the further damage to the spinal cord, to the basically the disc and to that vertebrae. So the muscles become very stiff and they go into the spasm. And if we want to reduce that spasm, there is nothing great than the Nadi Swed. Of course, we can use the Dashmul Barad Churna, we can use the Nirgundi, Patra, whatever is available, Vatagna, into that Nadi Swed, and that can be given. Churna Pinda Swed is to reduce the Amachul and the inflammation. If the ama is present and along with that the shul is there and the inflammation is there, Churna Pinda Swed, that is the Elakizi, even that is very effective. Basti, basically, I would like to come back to the things. So there are a number of conditions into the Asti Dhatu Kshay. I have just covered the three, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, and lumbar and cervical spondylosis. Kesha Patan, that means the hair loss. It's trichology. It is a big door, or it is a big practice. It can be developed as a big practice or individual practice. Someone can just practice onto the hair loss and along with the Asti Dhatu Kshay. So lot of pathologies are there, lot of conditions are there, but commonly we do see this. And now we would like to understand basically the most important panchakarma and most important therapy in the Asti Dhatu Kshay is the basti. So for a mala shodhan, which I was talking about previously, the basti needs to be considered in these three phases. First is the mala shodhan, the morchut, that means the copper sulfate can be taken 5 ml, and the tila tail, sesame oil can be taken the 20 ml, and the mala shodhan can be achieved. Followed by, for the Vatanuloman, some matra bastis can be given. I will give the demonstration of the matra basti, the examples of the matra basti in the next slides. And then that's followed by the Niro basti, or that's followed by the Tiktakshir basti, or that's followed by basically any other bastis which we want to plan for the long term. So this sequence is very important. That reduces the Marga Avrod, and then the basti treatment becomes very effective. Tiktakshir basti we have basically already seen, we have talked about that. Only Mahatikta Grud basti, even that can be done. Even if you don't process the basti in a typical manner as I explained into the Tiktakshir basti process, if you don't do the Kshir part, only Mahatikta Grud if you administer, even that is effective. Matra basti, basically, when we talk about the matra basti, ideally my favorites or the choices always goes with the Searcher tel and the Mahanaran tel. So into the 60 ml and 120 ml, I do push this matra bastis, or if it needs to be Mahanaran tel, into the same quantity, 60 ml to 120 ml. Another one thing I would like to mention here is about the Mustadi Yapan basti. That basti has been utilized into the number of conditions. I mean, it's not only to the Asti Dhatu Kshay, right from any Kshayaj Samprapti, even into the infertility, and even into the, right from the Rasa Dhatu to the Shukra Dhatu, any Kshayaj Samprapti can be overcome very nicely with the Mustadi Yapan basti. But again, to give this kind of the basti, a proper, plan is very important. Agni needs to be considered. Dipan Pachan needs to be considered, and then this kind of the bastis. Shodhan needs to be done before, either with the Vaman or either with the Virecahana, and then the basti needs to be done. Mustadi Yapan basti. That's going to be effective. Kapikachu, Beach Siddha Dugdha, and the Grudh Basti. So this was one of the combination which was given by my teacher in Pune, and I have used this, and this has given me very good results into the Astidhatu Kshaya Janya Samprapti. Also, I have used this into the Parkinson's as well, which is very common in this country again, and we have seen some improvements into the patients. Lastly, I would like to talk a little bit about the Nasya, because the Nasya is one of the things which is very important into the Urdhva-Jatrugat Astidhatu Kshaya. So cervical spondylosis is very classical, example of that. Acharya Charak basically gives this principle over there. Bahu Shirshagate Nasyam Panam Cha Uttar Bhaktikam Basti Karmam tu Adhonabe Shasyate Avapidakam. That means Bahu and Shirshagat. If the Bahu and above the clavicle, Urdhva-Jatrugat Astidhatu Kshaya is there, then, or the Vat Vayu is there, then Nasya and Snehapan, that needs to be done. And Snehapan Uttar Bhaktikam. After the meal, that Snehapan needs to be done. And if it's Adhona Bhigat, that means the below the Nabi, then the Basti needs to be considered along with the Avapidak Snehapan. So if we are doing the Basti, we should always consider the Avapidak Snehapan as well, along with the Basti, to make the entire process very effective. And if it's above, along with the Nasya, we should consider the Snehapan after the meal. So Nasya, we all know basically the efficacy of the Nasya. A lot of research has been done on that as well. But I do use particularly Ashwagandha Grudh Bala Tail. Another one I haven't mentioned onto the slide is the Kshir Bala 101. That basically I do use into the clinical practice for the number of conditions. Now this slide shows you basically according to the symptoms, what bastis basically we can use. Matra bastis we can use. So if it's just the Sandhi Shul, we can use the Narayan Tel, Sarchar Tel, or Tikta Kshir Tel along with the Narayan Tel and Matikta Grudh. If it's the Kati Shul, Narayan Tel, Sarchar Tel. Sarchar Tel comes top in the Kati Shul. Ashwagandha Tel as well, it can be used into the Katishul. Grudrasi, of course, it's not the Astidhatu Kshaya Janya Samprapti always, but majority of the conditions into the Grudrasi sciatica is just because of the degenerative changes, and then the pressure mechanism, slip disc, and the nerve is getting pinched. So to work onto the degenerative changes and to reduce the Vata, over there, the Sarchar Tel, Nirgundi Tel, and the Vishagrabha Tel. This can be used into the sciatic pain, just to give as an instant relief into this kind of the pain. Sandhi Shul, Kati Shul, and Grudrasi, we should favor, or we should take these oils and give the bastis. Lastly, without taking much more time, I would like to let you know, basically in the West, we Ayurvedic practitioners, we are always having the patients coming not directly to us. In India, that is possible, particularly in Kerala, that is possible. In South India, that is more possible. But nowadays, of course, in Pune, in Maharashtra, that is becoming possible. But in West, not always the patients, they will come initially to us. They will go to the number of people, and they have their own ways to work on. So, the comparison and scope of Ayurvedic Panchakarma in the bone health is very important to understand. For me, for the person like me who is working into the West, and maybe some of you can in the future may work into the West. Chiro practitioners, physiotherapists, massage therapists, acupuncture, acupressure therapists, basically osteopaths, they have their own techniques. But the most important thing I am very proud to say here is these all the therapies or these all the techniques, they are more anatomical. So chiropractitioner, they will do the manipulations. Physiotherapists, they will give the different stretches and exercises. Massage therapists, they will work mostly onto the muscles and onto the soft tissues. Acupuncturist and acupressure, they work according to their techniques. Osteopaths, they do have the more anatomical considerations. What is the uniqueness of the Panchakarma and what is the uniqueness of the Ayurveda is Ayurveda gives the inside out solution for the anatomical and physiological disruption into the body, and that can be given by the Basti very nicely. So anatomical considerations, anatomical problems, that can be resolved along with the yoga, along with basically the different exercises which Ayurveda, the sister science is the yoga and Ayurveda gives. But at the same time, the therapies which we do, they do change the anatomical structures into the body. Most importantly, the physiological consideration and the physiological changes into the body. none of the medical science can give this beautiful combination than the Ayurveda, and the basti is the prominent, the therapy in that. So all of you, what I would like to give you simple message here is, when we talk about the Asti Dhatu, we should not forget about, just to summarize, Asti Dhatu Agni. We need to consider that. We need to work onto the Asti Dhatu Agni. Second important thing, Asti Dhatu Kshay, we need to consider that, and we clinically see that what the clinical conditions we do see into the our clinical practice, and how we can overcome that along with the Panchakarma and along with the different bastis. Now, in all this, I would like to explain to you one more point, which is not onto the slide, and that is, when the patients they do come to us, they are always on some painkillers, they are always on some basically different other other medication. They will have the hypothyroidism, they will have the diabetes, they will have the high blood pressure, or they must have taken some previous steroidal injections or something like that. And here we should not forget about the agad, the thought of the agad. So we need to consider giving some shirshadi agad, or giving some kind of the agad inside the body to detoxify the effect of that. And then we should start with our Ayurvedic treatments. Now, I have just highlighted the Panchakarma because the topic of the Panchakarma was there. Along with that, obviously, the different Google, different herbs, diet, which Dr. Anupama has already explained. That all needs to be combined together and give as a complete, in a tangible manner. We should give a tangible delivery to our patient. And I'm pretty sure, basically, if you consider all these things, and if you give that as a tangible delivery to your patient, the patient will show you a fantastic results. And the healthy bones basically is not a impossible thing. So I guess I have given you the right message, what I wanted to give you in a time. If I have rushed a little bit, I'm very sorry. And thank you very much again to all of you to listening to me. Specifically, again, Principal Dr. Sarvesh Warkar, HOD Dr. Veena Rao of the Panchakarma, and Dr. Sudhakar Reddy, HOD of the Swasthurutta. Thank you very much. And I wish you all the best, particularly to the students. And I would like to be connected with all of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such a wonderful session. And we feel so sorry. During the beginning of the session, there was some technical issue while giving the introduction regarding you, sir. So I would like to say some lines. So we just, so Dr. Abhijit Shinde, sir, so has been recognized as Ayurveda consultant with more than 13 years of experiences in all phases of Ayurveda. And sir has also been recognized as member of International Ayurveda Academy, member of Federation of Holistic Medicine and Therapies, UK, and also as a member of Ayurvedic Practitioner Association. And sir has also been recognized as Ayurveda consultant with 7 years of professional experience at Ayush Spa, London, and 1.5 year professional experience at Shamala Ayurveda, London. So thank you, sir, for such a wonderful session. And we have few questions regarding your session. So among them, the first one is, sir, can you please explain the use of Atapa Sevana in Astikshaya in the present day scenario? That is for the vitamin D metabolism.
Yeah, which is a very hot topic in the West, to be honest with you. As I explained to you, it is very, very immensely important. Atap Sevan, it has been explained, and it has been, included into the type of the Swedan into Ayurveda. See, first important thing is the vitamin D metabolism we need to try and understand. We need the vitamin D in terms of the calcium metabolism, and particularly in the West, vitamin D we don't get just because of the lack of sunlight. And particularly talking about our ethnic origin, all the Asian ethnic origins, they are always lack into the vitamin D. So Atap 7 is very, very important. What I will recommend is early morning, the morning sun rays, they are very rich into the vitamin D. So expose yourself, particularly the back of your, the back of your body, not the hands and not the face. That doesn't absorb much, but the back of your body to the sunlight early morning. If you sit into the sunlight 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock, that's not going to be effective. So get that Atap 7 and sweat, do that till you literally sweat actually. And once that's been achieved, then you have completed your Atap 7 for that particular day. And that is immensely important to get not only the vitamin D, but from the Swedan point of view. So here in the Western countries as well, it is practiced whenever the chance is there, whenever the sunlight is there. We do see the people, they are taking the sun bath. That is known as the sun bath here.
Thank you, sir. And the next question is, which drugs can be used to aim at increasing or maintaining proper Astidhatu Agni?
Asti Dhatu Agni. Yeah, so as I said, basically, Asti Majja Pachak, which has been explained into the Jwara Chikitsa Adhyay, that can be used. Guduchi, Amalaki, and Musta. These are the three. This is the combination. It not only does the Pachan, but it increases the Agni at the same time of the Asti Dhatu. Now, when we talk about the Asti Dhatu Agni, the Navnit, which is the we call that as the butter, but that increases the Agni of the Asti Dhatu, and that was the research topic which I did explain to you. So Navnit can be consumed, freshly prepared Navnit, from the process of milk to yogurt to Navnit, basically to the butter, and that Navnit can increase the Asti Dhatu Agni very nicely. And the Asti Majja Pachak, these are the fantastic combinations to increase, to do the Deepan and Pachan of Asti Dhatu Agni.
Thank you, sir. And the next question is, mode of action of Shirodhara in Asti Dhatu Swasthya.
Yeah, so as I explained, basically there are the two important things over there. Asti Dhatu Swasthya doesn't comes only, like as I said, the pain only. So along with the pain, the mental, concerns we need to always consider. So to work on that, first of all, Shirodhara works. Second, importantly, Shirodhara is the fantastic treatment onto the central nervous system, which we know. And in the management of the pain, basically, and along with the central nervous system, the peripheral nervous system needs to get channelized and need to get, basically, the Vata needs to be reduced. And the Shirodhara actually works like that. At the same time, as I talked about, the Shirodhara is immensely, deep therapy, which works into the digestive system as well. I mean, we have seen ulcerative colitis when we do the Takradhara over there. So if the degenerative changes into the bone is there, we can do the Shirodhara and we can achieve the pain management. We can, particularly into the neck, particularly into the shoulder, and the mental disturbance along with that which has come, that can be reduced. And the central nervous systems, like parasympathetic nervous system, that can be given a very soothing effect along with the Shirodhara.
The last question is, sir, in Asti Vriddhi Lakshana, so Adi Danta is one of the Lakshana, so what it has to be considered in the present scenario?
Yeah, Adi Danta, basically, it is the Asti Vriddhi Lakshana. So basically, yeah, as I said, clinically, we don't see that many patients with the Asti Dhatu Vriddhi. But if the Vriddhi is there, then Pachan can be used. We know the Dhatu Pachak Yoga, which I have explained to you. So Asti Dhatu is getting the more nourishment. What we need to do is, do the Pachan of that. And once the Pachan is done, then Asti Dhatu Vriddhi can be treated effectively.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable answers. Looks like you have answered all the questions which are raised by the delegates. So thank you, sir, for taking time out of your busy schedule and to share your expertise with us. On behalf of Department of Panchakarma and Swasthya, we are very grateful to you, sir. Thank you from all of us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I wish you, all the students, all the best, and the best regards to all the delegates. And thank you very much for JSS Ayurvedic Medical College, Mysore, to give me this opportunity. Thank you.
So by this, the scientific session, day 4, will come to an end. I thank all of you for your great presence and participation with the international webinar on health promotion Hitaayu 2020. On behalf of Department of Panchakarma and Swasthya, JSS AMC, Mysore. Thank you, one and all. So in the afternoon, there will be the scientific paper presentations will commence from 2 o'clock. Thank you, one and all.